Hi, and welcome to Stamp with Ginny. Today I'm going to share with you how I made this fun Above the Clouds pop-up box card. I'm using the Above the Clouds stamp set from the 2019 catalog and the coordinating hot air balloon punch. This card will fold down flat to fit in a standard envelope, and it's ready to mail. So let me set this aside and I'll show you how I got started. Okay, to create your box, you're going to start with the larger piece of blueberry bushel cardstock. This happens to measure 8.5 by 5, and I am going to score it at the 2-inch mark, the 4-inch mark, the 6-inch mark, and the 8-inch mark. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to score it again at the 3-inch mark. And then I'm going to bring in a piece of 3 by 3 cardstock. That's blueberry bushel, and I'm going to score it at the 1/2-inch mark and the 2.5-inch mark. And then I'm ready to put my scoreboard to the side. Now on this larger piece of blueberry bushel cardstock, I want to take my paper snips and I want to snip along this 1/2-inch section on the score line and then down along the score line until the lines intersect. And I'm taking out the smaller section here, a little wedge of it, so that the box can go together. And if you'd like to, you can taper this a little bit so that you have a cleaner top edge. I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut down to where those lines intersect on each one of these flaps. You can do this once your box is assembled if you prefer, but it's a little easier with it being flat. Okay, now that I've got those cut, I'm going to take my fingers and fold on those score lines and then crease them nice and sharp with my bone folder. And the last little piece here, there we go. And now I'm ready to start adding my sticky strip. So I want to add a piece of sticky strip along this 1/2-inch flap here. And then I also want to add a piece of sticky strip along these 2 1/2-inch sections on my 3 by 3. And you can fold and use your bone folder to make those nice and sharp at this point if you want to also, or you can do it later as you're assembling. Okay, so how do I put the box together? I'm simply going to lay my box down flat, and I am going to take off this protective paper and line my edges up. There we go. Now this side here, to the left of my tab, is going to be my back. And so I'm going to want to add my decorative designer series paper onto that piece. I've cut this so that it fits, and I'm ready to adhere. And you can use either side. That's up to you. This is one of our retiring papers, but I thought it worked well since it had the view of the roads from the hot air balloon. And then I am going to take 2 more of those pieces and a 3rd piece. I'm going to make sure where my box front is. So this is still my side, so I can add that. And as you can tell, I'm adding that liquid adhesive about a 1/4 inch from the edge of my designer series paper so that as I lay it down and adhere it, it doesn't ooze out from underneath the edge, because there is some spreading that will happen simply by the nature of the liquid glue. And then I'm going to add this little decorative strip to the front with the little arrows. There we go. And so now I have my box finished, and I can open it up, and I've got all 4 sides decorated. So let me show you the next step, which is the stamping on these flaps. Okay, my first piece here is a 1.5-inch piece of white, and that's simply a square, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment using the blueberry bushel onto that piece, and that completes the sentiment. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take my air balloons and a piece of Whisper White cardstock that measures 1 3/4 inches square, and I'm going to stamp these 3 air balloons. And let's see if I can do this with the camera in the way. The 2-step, I'm going to stamp it off and then line up my balloons. and stamp. And then I'm going to set the blueberry aside, and I'm going to get my balmy blue and my granite gray and my clouds and these cute little birds that come in the set. And so I'm going to ink up my balloons, stamp off, and then stamp my balloons. Gives it a little bit of a softer look. And add a couple of little birds. There we go. And then I'm going to do the two side panels, since that was the back. And these also measure 1 3/4 inches. And I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to stamp my balloons. Oops, that one stuck. And I'm going to stamp off. Sorry, this is a little crowded here. There we go. And I'm going to add some down here and some across the top also. There we go. And then I can add a few of my little birds where I would like to by filling in that space that is open. Okay, so now I'm ready to start assembling. I'm going to bring my box back in, and I've layered the sentiment onto a piece of Mango Melody, and I'm going to fold these flaps down, making sure not to bend the back one here, and I'm going to start adding these panels to the box. So this one goes on the front flap here for the sentiment. My balloons go on that back taller flap. And then my birds with the clouds go on the two side panels. And I'm doing this quickly since I'm videotaping, but you can add more adhesive as desired. Okay, there we go. Now it's time to bring in this flap that we did earlier with the adhesive. And I'm going to set this in the center of my box so that it'll fold nicely. I'm going to take the one side, and as you can see I folded it back so it won't stick. Slide this one down, being careful not to allow it to adhere completely, and press down, and then bring the other side over and pressing down. And at this point you can see I can fold my box and it folds nicely, and I can crease it a little bit more on those lines if I want, and I can go the other direction also and crease so that it'll pop up nicely. So there we go. So I've got my divider in, and the box itself is decorated. So let me show you how I made the little balloons that hover in the box. You're going to need a couple of pieces of window sheet for this, and your balloons. I've stamped these using the Mango Melody on Pineapple Punch and on Mango Melody. I'm bringing in my glue dots, and I'm simply going to tack my baskets onto them so that I can find them because they're tiny. Okay, and now I'm ready to start adding my balloon. I'm going to take my balloon and add it onto the glue dot to pick it up. And then I'm going to add it onto my window sheet. So I'm going to tack that to the top, and I'm going to put the basket right below it. Now if you want this to fit into a regular envelope, you're going to want to make sure that when you're assembling you don't go above 5.5 inches. And here's my other window sheet. I know these are difficult to see. I'm going to attach that to the window sheet and the basket right below it. And then I'm going to take the window sheet and add a couple of dimensionals, and some more glue dots. So on this one I'm going to do it on the very bottom, on the front side where the balloons show, and on the top so that the sticky part is facing me. And I'm going to bring this over and place this on my grid paper so I can see where 5.5 is, but I know it's right about there, and I'm going to adhere that down. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this second balloon. I'm going to turn it over so that it's facing down add a couple of glue dots to it. But this one I'm going to add to the front of the box so that there's some space and some distance between the two balloons. There we go. It's that quick and easy. Okay, here's the original again. If you'd like any of these products, feel free to stop by my online store. You can get there from my blog, Stamp with Jini. Thanks for joining me.